a podcast in which Will and I attempt to explain about special effects, sets, props, some stunts, all that sort of thing, from various films. So this week we're looking at the movie Alien. So, Will, tell me your initial thoughts about the movie Alien.
I think the common perception of Alien is that it's a very good film, and I think there's a very good reason for that. One of the things that Ridley Scott, I think, said about it was that he wasn't a big fan of horror movies just using blood and gore and things. He thought there was much more nuance in suspense and having a nice plot and a nice story and characters and things like that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Alien is considered a classic. It's not your sort of just typical gory blood and guts horror film. There's a real plot, and the characters seem very human. And one of the things that was mentioned quite frequently is that the characters aren't acting like they're in a horror film. They're acting just like they're going about doing their regular jobs, and they have this horrific event happen to them. It's very, very nice film.
I love that it took me 12 attempts to do the introduction, but your bit was just perfect first take. So, where do we start?
We've already started. It's already begun.
Oh dear. It was going so well.
So I think we agreed before this that Joe was going to investigate. I'm Will, by the way.
Yeah, we should definitely introduce ourselves slightly. Do you want to tell everyone a bit about yourself, Will?
You introduce yourself first, and then I'll introduce me.
All right. I'm Joe. I love films, and I work for the government.
You're not for the government?
Yes, I work in a primary school, but I'm paid by the local council.
Right.
That's the angle I'm taking.
I'm Will. That's all you need to know.
You're a man of mystery. Okay, so when was the first time you watched Alien?
Very first time. I was quite late, actually, to the Alien party.
So was I.
I don't remember exactly the first time I watched it, but it was not too long ago. It was only half a dozen years ago at most, I think.
Yeah, so when I watched it about a year ago with Barnaby. And
that's the first time you watched it?
Yeah. And when you first watched it, did you know, how much did you know? Because going into it, I knew about the chestburster. I knew basically what the alien looked like. I knew that Ellen Ripley was the hero and therefore she would survive.
So I watched Aliens before I watched Alien.
Aha. Good job.
And so because of that, when I was watching Alien, I kind of knew the basic premise of face huggers and chestbursters and things.
Yeah.
I think in a sense, really watching Aliens first maybe ruined Alien a little bit for me.
The only big reveal I didn't know going in was that Ash was a robot. Did you know that going in?
I didn't know that going in, no.
No. I think that's the effect that holds up the least. Alien looks amazing, even nowadays, even though it's nearly 40 years old. But I think that effect is the worst one.
Oh, yeah. I think even Ridley Scott actually commented on that. A few of the interviews I watched.
Yeah.
It kind of hints that he doesn't think that
he's not a big fan, is he?
Yeah, he's not a big fan of that.
They made a cast of Ian Holmes' head, and the foam rubber that they used to make it shrank, which is why it doesn't look right at all. Well, it's very obviously a man with his head stuck through a hole in a table.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was the other thing I was going to say? Definitely something. Apparently, though, in one of the first screenings, an usher in the cinema fainted during that scene.
Yeah, I heard about that. Well, not like at the time, obviously, but I read about it on the internet.
But I mean, if you were watching that film, that's not the scene I would faint at.
Well, he fainted at the scene of Ash's head.
Yeah. I think it's the bit where Parker knocks his head off with the fire extinguisher.
Wow. Of all the scenes he could have chosen.
Exactly. I love that scene where there's the grapple with the robot and they finally pushed him to the floor and Parker goes, "Oh, he's a robot!"
He's only just noticing now.
Yeah. I really struggled to keep a straight face when watching that. I couldn't take it seriously. I watched Alien, nice. I watched it with Barnaby a few years ago. And I watched it again in preparation for this in a dark room on my own on a laptop.
Nice.
And I thought, okay, this is the best preparation I can get. Yeah. So I jumped quite a few times, I'll be honest. But
really?
Do you think it's more scary, or do you think it's more of a thriller?
Can you be a bit more vigorous on exactly what the distinction is? I'm not really.
Okay, do you think it's more of a horror movie or more of a suspense movie?
More suspense, definitely.
Yeah.
I think that comes into what I was saying about what Ridley Scott was saying. That's really, I think the essence of his argument was that he wanted it to be more suspense than horror.
But it is held up as one of the greatest horror films of all time.
Well, I think you can just subsume suspense films into horror.
Fair enough.
You know.
Yeah. So I think we have to jump right into the centerpiece of this. Talk about the chestburster scene.
Oh, right, yeah, that's a big scene.
The most famous scene in the film.
It probably is, yeah.
And apparently voted on a few different polls the scariest movie scene of all time.
Really?
Yeah.
The single scariest scene.
Now,
I have to say, I haven't really watched that many horror films, really. Like, either suspense or sort of more kind of gory. So I don't really know, but...
Me neither. I'm not a big horror
yeah.
movie guy. I can't think of anything that's more horrific than that. So there's a lot of rumours on the internet that the cast didn't know this was going to happen. And that it was all done in one take, which makes no sense.
I think it's kind of half true.
So from my research, I dug into this quite a bit, and they filmed the first part with John Hurt riding around. Then all the cast had to go away for a couple of hours, and what they did was they stuck John Hurt through a table. If there's one theme in this film, it's sticking actors through tables.
Sticking people through tables, yeah.
And with his head and his arms through, and they had this fiberglass torso, which the chestburster would burst through. Now, apparently they knew what was going to happen, that the alien was going to come through. They didn't know what the alien would look like. And I heard somewhere that they were told that all the guts inside this fake chest were real intestines from animals and stuff, so that they would act more disgusted.
So, on the topic of, like, real blood and guts and things, for the alien costume, they actually used real, like, snake vertebrae, and there's actually the face of the alien is an actual human skull.
An actual human skull?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
An actual
okay.
Yeah. Fun fact for you there.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know, right?
But then Giga was a bit weird.
He was very weird.
So his original designs for the chestburster, they look like traditional roast chicken, but it has these kind of beaks and claws coming off it. And I saw in an interview he was talking about this thing would like scratch and claw its way out of John Hurt. They made a model of it. And basically the guy, I can't remember if it was Ridley Scott or Dan O'Bannon that he showed it to. He basically said it looked like a plucked turkey. And also it was too big to fit inside a man. So yeah, he didn't really think it through. But there's some great concept art for it. Due to the fact that a lot of this is a very visual medium, and we're going to refer to lots of concept art, lots of interviews, lots of scenes from the movie, lots of stuff that you want to look at. We have a Twitter and a Facebook, and we're planning to put a lot of the stuff that we refer to up on those. So if you want to browse some of the stuff we're talking about and see what it actually looks like, then have a look at that. We'll give you the actual links at the end.
Yeah, we'll have to find out what they are. So the chestburster, as it appears in the film, isn't really that threatening.
It's not. It's also very long and thin.
Yeah, but I think that's Geiger wants it to look like Fallon. No, I think that's actually...
I know, it's all intentional.
Yeah, one of the things that Scott said he liked about Hans Geiger's artwork was the sexual overtones.
Well, apparently, in everything, the sexual overtones were a lot worse, and the studio were like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah,
so in the scene right at the beginning where the pod's open, Ridley Scott wanted everyone to be naked.
What?
I don't know why. Something about birthing.
Nice.
Because
apparently for that scene they had to avoid offending people in particular countries, the women had to wear tape over the nipples to stop them protruding through their clothing.
So there you go. That's a fun, odd, weird fact for you. Okay, sorry. The recording has just gone. If you want to keep recording, press this button. So I press the button. It's fine. We're still recording.
Nice. Okay, good.
I might have to do that every now and then. Excuse the panic. Alright, so sorry, we got off topic. Do you want to go on to the alien, or do you want to go backwards to the facehugger?
Facehugger.
Alright, well, I'm not going to talk about the facehugger. I'm going to talk about the eggs before I go on to the facehugger.
Okay.
But then before that, I should talk about the space jockey. Oh my goodness. It's
nonsense. Talk about the space jockey. The space jockey is interesting.
So, for those who don't know, the space jockey is the name given by the cast and crew to the set, the alien set that they find on the... They find a set. They found a movie set on the alien planet.
Oh my God. They're just like us.
So they land and they go into this massive horseshoe spaceship, and they find the dead alien. And the crew gave this alien the nickname the space jockey, because they imagined that him sitting up on this plinth was like the pilot of the ship, and it looked like he was riding a horse. So they called him the space jockey.
Fair enough.
So yeah, apparently that prop was 26 feet tall, which is like 9 meters. But to make it look even bigger, Ridley Scott used his children. They made miniature versions of the spacesuits for his children. And they put his kids and one of the cameraman's kids into the spacesuits, and they walked around the set for the wide shots to make it look bigger.
That's a nice idea.
He did it for the underside of the ship as well.
I think one of the most interesting things about the space jockey is sort of the history. Okay, the sort of in-universe history behind that, and sort of how that particular species came to be.
Okay. Before we go onto this, have you seen Prometheus?
Yeah, but it's a bit shit.
Well, that covers that. Do they cover these space jockey people?
I think they do. Yeah, I honestly don't remember much of Prometheus, but I think I read when I was doing this research and such that I don't really remember, man. I don't remember. There was some interesting stuff.
Was it that Ridley Scott imagined these people, the spaceship as something like an aircraft carrier? In prep for this, I watched the director's commentary.
That's a good idea.
Something I've never done before. It was real great. Half the time he was saying, "You need to listen to these sound effects," though. He loved the sound effects for some reason. But anyway, in getting back to topic, when they got to the Great Big Horseshoe spaceship, he said that they never fully fleshed out the backstory for the space jockeys, but he thought that these guys were like on a kind of aircraft carrier, their equivalent, and the eggs were like weapons, and that they would go and they drop the alien eggs onto a planet, and then the planet would be decimated by aliens. And that was like their military strategy, which I thought was quite neat.
Huh, that's nice.
But that they were all killed when someone poked an egg and then got face hugged and they all died.
Huh. That's nice backstory, actually. I like that.
I like finding out the backstory to things that you don't necessarily see on screen.
Yeah.
That, like the creators have thought through and then butchered to put into a movie to make millions of dollars. So the DVD I got is the 20th anniversary edition, and he recorded it in 1999, and was saying how he'd like to go back and visit this again, and how he'd like to make a prequel. Yeah. And we all know how well that went.
That went pretty shit.
Obviously, I can't comment because I haven't seen it. Yeah, anything else on those?
Oh, eggs.
Eggs.
I think Geiger wanted them to like open like a vagina.
There's a lot of birthing metaphors in this film.
Yeah.
There's apparently a very strong female presence in all the Alien films.
Sigourney Weaver.
The Sigourney Weaver. You have an alien queen. The alien is born is like a birth, but that's not how birth works. I've been told. Their ship is called Mother. All that sort of thing.
That's a good spot.
I read it on the internet. But apparently, all these characters were written so that they could be either gender.
Huh.
They're all referred to by the surname, aren't they?
They could have been either gender, yeah.
Yeah.
That's nice.
I don't know how that would have changed the film, though.
Probably not really that much. There isn't really anything that happens that relies too much on them being a particular gender, I think.
I suppose Parker is a pretty macho male.
Yeah, that's true.
But besides that, all the others are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Speaking of characters, I didn't get all the details on this, and I don't know whether they offered or what, but they considered Harrison Ford for the role of Dallas, the captain.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
I really don't think that would have worked.
Well, I don't know. It could have worked. Well, I don't really see why it wouldn't have worked straight away. I mean, why not?
Well, I immediately imagine Han Solo replacing him, and Dallas is he's a really cool, calm guy.
Is Harrison Ford not a cool, calm guy?
He's a cool guy, but he's a cool, run in, shoot first, ask questions later kind of guy.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have gone into the vents, would he?
You've conflated Han Solo and Harrison Ford.
Yeah, they didn't cast Han Solo. He's fictional.
They didn't cast Han Solo, they casted Harrison Ford. Who is in fact an actor and is capable of playing many roles.
I just feel like he's too... This sounds like an insult to the guy who actually played Dallas, but I feel like Harrison Ford's a bit too charismatic.
Maybe. I can imagine Harrison Ford as Dallas, and it doesn't mess up the film.
Really? I really can't. I'm just imagining, like, a re-edited version of Alien, but instead of the alien, it's like Chewie has got onto the ship, and he's, like, tearing people apart.
Yeah, we've gone massively off topic here.
We have, but it's great.
Let's bring it back.
Alright, so where were we? Eggs.
Eggs, yeah.
Eggs. So, the eggs. There are eggs.
Do you not have anything to say about the eggs?
I wrote so much about the eggs, but my book is closed because I'm trying to make it feel vaguely natural. Okay. So, apparently they made 130 egg props for the egg chamber, which seems a bit excessive because I don't remember seeing 130 eggs.
Also, they could have just sort of made it look bigger with mirrors and things.
Well, they used a matte painting for like the big shot.
Oh yeah.
To make it look like it was actually the same set as the space jockey set. They just took the space jockey off and loads of eggs down And the lasers, there's this really cool effect that I thought was like an early computer effect.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry to jump in here, but there's a nice sort of link to a very awesome music. You know, the like laser effect and the fog. They borrowed that from The Who, which is a British band. I think they were testing some stage equipment on the next soundstage over to where they were recording Alien. So they just borrowed all of their equipment and used it for the
Oh, that's great. I didn't have that, but what I did have was that the lasers, they kind of put the lasers over it as like a sheet and then fired smoke up from underneath. And that's how you get that cool, like, rippling on the laser effect, which I assume was some kind of computery or some other effect.
Yeah, I don't think there's actually much CGI in Alien, if any. I don't think there's really any.
It was too early for there to be any CGI. I looked up Alien CGI, and it was like the screens when they're going to land on the planet, and there's like the planet, and then there's the squares and the ship's flying through it. This is cutting edge.
One of the screens that they used is also used in Blade Runner.
Really?
Like one of the images. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I forget which one, but it's like it flashes up on one of the screens for a few seconds, and there's the exact same shot in Blade Runner.
Cool. Anyway, so I got distracted again from my eggs. It's like I don't want to talk about them. Yeah, so you got the laser, and then John Hurt goes down, and he kind of disturbs them a bit. And there's a bit where you see the egg. It's kind of noticed he's there. It's clocked him.
A little exclamation mark comes up above it.
Yeah, the little periscope comes out the top and looks around. And he goes up to it, and the top opens. That was hydraulic, apparently. And then it goes kind of see-through, and you can see something moving around inside. It's like see-through fiberglass. And then it's Ridley Scott's hands in rubber gloves, just wiggling about.
It turns out Ridley Scott is actually a facehugger.
Yes.
I don't want to alarm anyone.
He just stuck his hands on John Hurt's face for the rest of the movie. But,
nice.
So then, what happens after that? So then it opens up, and you see inside, there's this really cool, like, patterned, like, fleshy stuff, which is actually, I can't remember the proper term for it, but it's part of a cow's stomach. And he kind of just put this, Ridley Scott did all this, apparently, all this dressing, and put it over the 4 bits, the 4 egg flaps.
Egg flaps,
yes,
sure.
the 4 egg flaps. And then inside is, like, kidneys.
Sounds like a really dodgy band. The 4 egg flaps.
Anyway, so inside, they used to basically go down the meat market every morning and just grab loads of stomachs and intestines and that sort of thing. And then there's a really quick shot. John Hurt looks over, not knowing, obviously, that Ridley Scott's hands are going to jump out at him.
I'm ready for that to happen at any time, Joe.
That's why you wear that face mask and look like Bane all the time.
Yeah.
So
who I was before I put on the mask.
He is wearing a helmet, though, so he probably thought he was safe. He did a risk assessment, and he was like, well, if a face-hugging alien leaps out, I'm safe. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is there's a really quick shot of something that flails about in front of the camera. And basically, it's a sheep's intestine that they cleaned up, stuck an airline through, and just turned it on.
It flops about.
It flails about, yeah.
It's really, really ingenious, some of this stuff. It makes you think, like, did they, like, try other stuff before this? Or like, did they try several things?
The sheep's intestine was the last resort.
No, like, I don't mean just particularly this. I mean, like, more generally. Like, did they just kind of think, oh, I know what would look really great if we got a sheep's intestine and just pump some pressurized air to it.
I like to think that whenever Ridley Scott goes to the butcher's, he's like, oh, what kind of alien can I make out of that?
What kind of alien can I make today?
Yeah. Well, apparently, the head of Ash that you see that looks real naff was actually animatronic. And the eyes open, could look around, and the smile,
that's nice.
Mouth could change. Which is why the first time you see it, it's got like a blank expression. And then just before he flamethrowers it, it's got this weird smile on it.
Mm.
And I assumed they'd made 2, but actually it was animatronic. But you never see any of that in the movie.
Huh. Very fancy.
But anyway, going back to the egg. Did you notice? I read about this, and I hadn't noticed it. And then I went back and looked, and I was like, oh yeah. But there's one shot just before the egg, either just before it opens or just after it opens, where it looks like drops of water are travelling up the egg towards the top.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, basically, it's very simple. They just stuck an egg upside down. Yeah, exactly. One thing that always bothered me, though, about Alien is the egg on the poster and on the DVD case that I own and all that. Yeah. Nothing like an alien egg at all.
Are they not?
I mean,
what about my artwork? I mean, that's
your glorious artwork.
It's a completely accurate reproduction.
Well, the alien eggs are like big leathery brown things that open at the top. The egg on the poster is like a kind of smooth, mottled, greyish thing with a crack down the bottom.
Mm.
So I dug into this a bit.
Yeah.
It turns out this poster stuff and the marketing material had to be made way before the movie was made.
Mm.
And the egg on all those things is actually just a decorated chicken's egg.
So the font that the movie titles appear in at the start of the film, Ridley Scott, they sort of showed him a bunch of sort of trials and he didn't like any of them. And he saw the movie poster and he just said, "Oh, just use that one."
Really?
So, yeah.
Oh, I like to think that there was like a guy and he prepared for weeks
Oh, yeah.
with mind maps and folders. And he had like, "Okay, Ridley, I'm just going to show you my 25-page presentation. This won't take more than 2 hours." And he's like, "Can we just use that one?" I think that's all I've got on eggs. Do you want to talk about the alien, and then I'll go back to facehuggers?
I can talk about the big boy, the main man.
Did you know the movie was originally going to be called Star Beast?
I know that in a lot of other languages it's called something like "The Eighth Passenger is Death" or something like that, which is doesn't really fit very well, I think.
No.
It's not very snappy.
But then Jaws is, in French, is the teeth of the sea. That's my favourite foreign language one.
The teeth of the sea.
Yeah. Anyway, going back. You talk a bit about the alien, and then I'll come back on facehuggers a little later.
Alright.
So you were telling me it was made of, what was it, snake vertebrae?
Yeah, they used a lot of, like, snake vertebrae, and I think basically Hans Geiger just basically got a box of, like, animal bones and just kind of liberally... Oh, I thought I turned my volume down. Oh, my God.
So to clarify, Hans Giger, was he the designer or the builder?
Both. So what really happened was that one of the scriptwriters...
Dan O'Bannon?
Yeah, him. That guy.
Yep.
Bannon. I just refer to him as Bannon. So do you know the book called Dune? It's like a very famous science fiction book. So apparently they were going to make a film of that.
Yeah.
But it kind of fell through.
I think they did later on.
Yeah, I think they made one later on, but they were going to make an earlier version that fell through or something. I'm not really sure. But anyway, so both Bannon and Geiger were working on that film. And during the filming of it, Geiger showed Bannon some of his artwork. And Bannon was sort of very, maybe not impressed, but it's something like...
Disturbed in a good way.
It like stayed in his memory, I guess.
Yeah, I think it was.
So then when he was working on Alien, he mentioned to Ridley Scott this guy, Geiger, and all of his artwork and things. Scott looked at some of Geiger's artwork and decided that this was perfect for his Alien film. So that's how Geiger kind of got involved.
So I heard that apparently most of the crew thought he was really weird, and there were all these rumours going around about him.
That's quite a valid thing to think.
There were loads of rumours about him, that he had like his dead fiance's bones, and that he would carry them around.
That really wouldn't surprise me. Really, that genuinely would not surprise me if he did.
But apparently, because everyone else like avoided him, he got loads of time to work with Dan O'Bannon and with Ridley Scott. So they got a really focused vision of what the creature would look like. Yeah. So because everyone thought he was real weird, it actually helped the film.
That's good. As I said, Bannon showed Scott some of Giger's artwork, and he picked one painting in particular that he said he wanted to base the alien on. So basically, Giger went away and started to like design it from scratch, and Scott said, "No, you should base it on this one you've already done."
There you are. Do you know what that was called?
No, I don't know. I think the book it was from is the Necronomicon or something like that.
Okay.
I don't remember the name of the actual piece of art in particular.
So was the book just his artwork, or did he write a book?
Yeah. I think it was essentially just a book of his Giger's artwork, or the book that used his artwork or something like that. And Scott picked out one picture in particular and said, "That's our alien." Probably.
That exact voice.
That exact voice. But then Giger made the costume himself as well. I think he had it wasn't just him, but he was like the lead guy on it. So he not only designed it, but also built it. So he got his box of snake vertebrae, really applied it. And like I said, the front of the alien's face is a human skull. So it's like behind like a translucent dome. So you can't sort of directly see it. There's like one shot where you can really directly see it.
One of the strengths of the film is that you see very little of the alien. Yeah,
so something that Scott was worried about was he didn't want people realizing that ultimately it's just a man in a suit.
So I saw an interview with the three of them, Dan O'Bannon, Ridley Scott, and Giger, whose first name I don't know.
Hans.
There you go. And basically they were saying that in the reveal in the shuttle, it was like really disturbing how it was kind of a human, but it had these like really long heads and weird double jaws and all that. But for me, I thought this when I watched Alien. I thought this when I watched Predator. When you see it and you realize it's man shaped, you're like, oh, it's just a dude in a suit.
Yeah, so I must say I'm surprised to hear that Ridley Scott said that. All of the other material that I've seen of him commenting on it was exactly the opposite. He was saying that he deliberately wanted to hide its shape so that you couldn't tell it was just a man in a costume. And so he deliberately kept the camera angles and the effects and such so that you never really get a clear look at it until right at the very end. So I'm surprised to hear that Scott said that. Maybe he changed his mind later on.
It might not have been Scott. It might have been one of the producers.
Might have been one of the producers.
But also, this is the point where you're plugging it and you're supposed to say how great your film is.
That's true. That's true.
Who was the guy in the suit?
So the guy in the suit was actually just a random guy they met at the pub.
Really?
Yeah. His name was Bolaji Badejo. I probably completely butchered the pronunciation, but there you go. And so first, they had like a couple of tries, sort of more kind of, I guess you could say, sort of professional casting, I guess.
Right.
They tried first like some like circus performers, and then later on they tried putting several actors inside the same suits.
Oh my goodness!
Like it's the donkey in some school play or something. I don't know.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
I mean, obviously that didn't work, and they decided it'd be better off just having one sort of tall, lanky guy in a costume. And I guess they were just like having a beer in a local pub or something, and they saw this guy and they said, "Would you like to be an alien in our film?" And
he was like, "Cool."
That's the first and only film he's been in.
Really?
I don't remember what he was studying. Let me look it up and we can edit it in so that I look like I know what I'm talking about.
Perfect.
Graphic art, that was it. He said that if he was offered a part in another film, he would drop it to do the film.
Oh, okay.
But I guess he was never offered any other films, and that's the only film he was ever in.
I find it interesting that he wasn't even in Aliens.
Yeah, that is weird. You'd have thought he would be like, if they're looking for people to play aliens, he'd have been one of the first people to...
You think they'd have called him first, yeah.
So he was like the main guy to play an alien, right?
Yeah.
But there were also two stuntmen who they would also use in this costume. So you know the bit where the alien is hanging from the ceiling and it sort of uncoils down?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, use stuntmen for that bit. If you consider how little screen time the alien gets, it's probably, I don't know if it's mostly him still, but the stuntmen must still get an appreciable percentage of the total screen time.
Yeah, well, thinking about it, the only time that you see the full alien is in the shuttle. And then after
that would have been him.
But then immediately after that, there's a stunt. Because he falls out the shuttle. So maybe, I don't know whether that was him or whether that was a stuntman.
Yeah, I know. So the bit that they keep mentioning for the stuntman was the bit where it uncoils down from the ceiling. So maybe that was the only bit. I don't know.
Maybe then they did just drop him out of a shuttle.
Yeah.
You can't flop out of a ceiling, but we're going to throw you out of this spaceship.
Throw you out of this spaceship. And then incinerate you in the engines.
So on an unrelated note, completely unrelated, but vaguely related, because it's the scene of Brett's death that we were just talking about. I have a fantastic fact about how they got Jones the Cat to do acting.
Oh, yeah. You mentioned this to me. You said you weren't going to tell me because you wanted it to be a surprise for the podcast.
Yes.
So I'm eager.
I wanted real suspense. So Brett is walking towards Jones the Cat, who is cornered.
Yeah.
And the alien uncoils itself behind him. And the cat kind of hisses. It's like, an alien.
Yeah.
So to make the cat have that reaction of like cowering away and hissing, what they did is they got a German Shepherd.
Yeah.
On a lead, and they put it behind like a screen, and Ridley Scott called action, and someone whipped the screen away, and the cat was like, a dog! Where did that come from? I was really intrigued as to how they make cats act, and
now no sudden dog appearance.
I was worried it was going to be like a really rubbish, but no, that's fantastic.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There you go. Anyway, back to, I think we were on the shuttle, weren't we?
You know, Sigourney Weaver sings that song when she's in the sun.
I know what you're going to say, but go on. It's like My Lucky Star or something, isn't it?
Yeah, Sigourney Weaver sings the song My Lucky Star when she's in the saddle.
Yeah.
There are too many S's in that sentence. So, okay. You know, Sigourney Weaver sings My Lucky Star when she's in the saddle. I can't do it. I can't get to the end of the sentence. Okay. So, Sigourney Weaver sings My Lucky Star when she's in the shuttle, right? So that was improvised and it wasn't in the script. And apparently it cost them like so much money to like buy the right to use that song.
Apparently it really annoyed the producers because they had to get the rights.
Like really pissed off because they had to buy the rights to the song.
She doesn't particularly sing it. She just says the title again and again and again.
That's true. And it's not like it's very loud either, so I don't know. Did you notice? The scene again, sorry to go back to this, but the scene where the alien swings down from the ceiling, right?
Yeah.
I only just noticed this when I watched it again when I was doing research for this. I only noticed that a few shots before it swings down from the ceiling, you can like see its shadow, like suspending from the chains. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I only just noticed that the last time I watched it.
Oh, there you are.
It's quite nice. And also the shot in the shuttle. There's like a quick shot where the camera just kind of like pans around inside the shuttle or something.
Yeah.
And again, if you look carefully, you can see the alien like hiding in the side.
Apparently, because the guy was so big, he's like 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
For that set, they put him on there and they kind of built the top of the set around him. So he was really encased in there.
Wow.
Yeah, which explains why he like kind of flops out. Because the alien is really, really threatening. Up to the point where she steams it and then it kind of flops out onto the floor. I really want an edit of that bit where Ash is like, it's the perfect predator. It has no conscience. You don't have a great chances against it. You're probably gonna die. And then immediately you cut to the alien going
flailing him out. Yeah. He had to take Tai Chi classes.
Really?
To like do the movements for the alien and things.
Oh, the alien does Tai Chi. That makes it even more deadly.
Tai Chi and mime as well, actually.
You know the bit in the air ducts when Dallas points the flamethrower one way and then he points it the other way and the alien is there kind of going blah with his hands out.
I never understood what it's supposed to be doing there.
Because he's trapped in a box like a mime.
It's like he's just going, surprise!
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, going back to the shuttle.
One of the reasons that they give for why the alien is kind of acting so sort of unthreatening towards the end is because originally they planned for the alien to only have a lifespan of sort of maybe a few hours or like a few days.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So they were sort of saying, so it's sort of getting towards the end of its life at this point.
So she kills an old age pensioner.
Pretty much, yeah.
Did I tell you about the alternate ending?
No.
This was the ending I think that Ridley Scott initially wanted, but the studio said you can't do it for reasons that will become obvious. So in the end, instead of Ripley, I nearly called her Ridley. Instead of Ripley finding the alien and expelling it from the shuttle,
expelling it from like a teacher, expelled from the shuttle.
You'll see me after school.
You've killed 6 people.
Actually, it was 5 because Parker killed Ash.
Oh yeah, he did.
Anyway, back from the technicalities. So instead of Ripley finding the alien was going to ambush her and rip off her head, thus killing her, and then it would go.
No.
Ash survived without a head.
Yeah, Ridley Scott just wanted another excuse to put an actor to a table.
Exactly. Anyway, so it was going to rip off Ripley's head, and then it would go over to like the console on the shuttle, and using Ripley's voice, contact Earth and say, "Can you give me directions? I'm coming to Earth." And it would end on this really dark note of essentially the alien went to Earth and then just killed everyone. Well, Ridley Scott liked it, and the studio
wouldn't like it because they want to do a sequel, basically.
They said the alien had to die. I think that was the condition, not that Ripley had to survive. Oh, that would have been great if the alien had killed Ripley, and then Jones the cat killed the alien.
He's scared of a German Shepherd, but he's not scared of
Yeah, so there you go. That's the alternate ending. Which was never filmed, though. I think they scrapped that before they went into production. Because there's a lot of deleted scenes that made it into the director's cut.
Yeah.
Which I didn't watch.
I watched the director's cut.
Because this is such an effective and amazing podcast, we didn't watch the same version of Alien.
No. I would bill this as actually we're doubling our time efficiency.
Oh, I like it.
With one of us watching not the director's cut and the other one watching the director's cut.
So I was going to ask you, most of the deleted scenes don't make much difference, but the one that I think would really impact it is the cocoon scene. Because the cocoon scene comes after she's hit self-destruct on the ship, right?
Yeah.
So does it slow down that end scene, because there's a real sense of panic.
Yeah.
Because she tries to deactivate the self-destruct and then runs to the shuttle. She encounters the alien. It's all real tense. And she gets there and gets out just in time. But that cocoon scene, I watched it on YouTube, and it's quite slow. Yeah. Does it slow down the pacing?
I think it does, but I think they could have easily fixed it. There's no reason the cocoon scene needed to be exactly there.
Yeah.
They could have moved it to before she hit self-destruct or something quite easily. Yeah.
Because the other thing I thought is, why would she bother flamethrowing them all if the ship's going to explode in 2 minutes anyway?
Yeah, I must admit, I thought that as well. But they also, the idea of turning the victims into eggs was obviously replaced in Aliens with the alien queen.
Yes, of course.
I don't think we're supposed to sort of consider that scene as sort of being proper. I don't really know. But...
Well, Ridley Scott said that it's a director's cut in name only. He was very happy with the original version, but they wanted to release something else with the deleted scenes added in.
But yeah, I agree with you when you say it does slow it down. I don't know why they wouldn't just put it before she activates the self-destruct. That would make more sense.
So that flamethrower they used, they just built a flamethrower.
Fair enough. That's not that difficult to do, actually.
Yeah, and the the device that they use to kind of track the alien.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at some pictures of it on the internet, and it's made out of like an old, really small TV set, but it's really obviously just got an ice cube tray stuck on the side. There's a picture, and it's clearly just like a TV ice cube tray, a couple of little pipes sprayed it black. I've got a few things to say about the Nostromo and the itty bitty ship that I forgot the name of.
I think it started with an N again, at least.
It did. It was the shuttle.
The shuttle, yeah.
Oh no, I haven't done the facehugger either. What a mess.
There's so much to say.
I think we'll do the facehugger first.
Okay, right.
So, there's not much to say about it. First off, when the original designs were given to, it wasn't Giga, but some member of the crew got stopped at airport security with the original designs for the facehugger.
That's an interesting conversation to have.
I assume they thought it was for like putting drugs into people to smuggle them.
Oh, what?
In all the designs, the facehugger is much bigger. And then in the diagram, there's like a tube into the stomach. So it really does look grim. And apparently they had to call up someone from the studio who came out and had to explain, we're making a film. And another thing, apparently they made the model of the facehugger, the one you see on screen, and originally they were going to paint it green.
Yeah.
But they looked at it and they liked the colour of the moulding, this kind of beigey, skinny colour.
Yeah.
And they liked that a lot more. And
I agree. I think that was the right decision, I think.
Depends what shade of green. I think like a pale green could have worked.
No, I think a pale green would have been the worst.
Well, no, I think a neon glow-in-the-dark green would have been the worst.
That wasn't what I was imagining, but sure, yeah, that would have been
the scene where they go in and are looking for it after it's come off John Hurt's face, and it's just like hiding in a lampshade. Yeah. I would like it to have been like army camo.
Yeah.
So I think that scene where they go into the medical bay after the facehuggers come off John Hurt and they're looking for it, I think that's the creepiest scene in the film.
Really?
Yes.
I suppose I can't really say because having watched Aliens and talked about it with people, I already knew really that the facehugger was going to be dead already. So I think Alien was kind of ruined for me essentially as a film, which is a bit depressing, but whatever.
I'm sorry, Will.
Very sad. Yeah.
I'm sorry that we're talking about Alien more just to rub it in.
Yeah.
Anyway, going back to the facehugger, was there anything else I wanted to say about it? Let me think. Oh, the acid blood. Apparently that arose during the scripting, I think it was. Someone was just like, well, there's an alien, why wouldn't you just shoot it?
Yeah.
And he was like, well, it has acid blood. There, that's the solution to that problem. Burn through the hull and kill everyone. And the other thing I had about the acid blood was, so the scene where it splashes out and lands on the floor and burns through, they got a bit of polystyrene and just threw some acid on it. And it burned through.
Fair. If you want to recreate acid burning through something, just have acid burn through something.
Exactly! You want to recreate an alien bursting out of a man's chest?
Just have an alien burst out of a man's chest.
Exactly! Wait, that's not how they did it.
How do you know, Joe?
Well, I read all about it, Will. Initially, when they did the effects of the chest burster, there was just so much blood. And Ridley Scott was like, no, calm down. There is too much blood. It's ruining the effect. I also didn't mention that, you know how John Hurt was half under a table?
Yeah.
There was also another guy under the table who was like doing the puppetry and the airline work and all that jazz.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So there were two of them crushed under a table.
I heard that inserting him into the table took like a few hours. He asked the other actors to like bring him like cigarettes and things while he was there.
Oh, that's great. There's also a brilliant video of like, you know how Lambert gets sprayed in the face with blood?
Yeah.
If you watch I watched behind the scenes, and she gets sprayed in the face with blood. She completely freaks out, as in like the actress, and then she just falls over. It's great. I want to make a gif of it. I don't know how you do that, but I'm going to find out.
Oh, I know how to do that. So.
Oh, you're a technical wizard.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got back onto the chestburster scene. I got distracted.
Yeah.
So, do you want to talk a bit about the alien, and then I'll talk about the Nostromo, and then we'll wrap up.
All right. So you know how the alien, it has that like, I don't know what you'd call it, like in a mouth thing.
Yeah, is it like a tongue or is it another
I don't know.
mouth?
I'm just going to refer to it as the tongue from now on.
Fair enough.
Just for convenience.
Yeah.
And it has, all the jaws are like kind of like open and things like that.
Yeah.
All of that, apparently they just like attached wires to all of those things, and there's like a man with like a big array of levers.
Really?
And he just like pulls it.
Oh, that's so good.
Opens the mouth and things. And so all of the like ligaments in its mouth and things. Do you know what they were made from?
Ligaments from cows or something.
They're made from condoms, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry, I went the wrong way on that one, didn't I? It's everything in this film is either dead animals or sex.
Dead animals or sex.
Is that why we did this film first?
Yes, dead animals.
I don't think all movies are just dead animals and sex.
Well, I guess we'll find out. Jurassic Park could very well be.
Dinosaurs are dead animals.
Yeah.
Anyway, back onto the movie at hand. So I had a few cool and interesting things about the Nostromo, which is the ship that they float about in. I have forgotten all of them.
Nice. That's fascinating, Joe.
Yeah, it is.
Well, that's the first episode of
So, they made a bunch of models for it, and they made one that was like 4 feet long for the landing on the planet scene. That's something that I remember. All of it was...
Do you mean 40 feet long?
I mean 4 feet long for the one where it lands on the planet. They made a 40-foot long trench for the underside of the Nostromo. Yeah. And I've got to stop declaring that I have a brilliant fact for things. I should just say it, and then you can decide whether it's brilliant. They had the underside of the Nostromo, and it was a 40-foot long like trench. And for the scene where they kind of dump Kane's burial shroud, it like flies out of the Nostromo. What they did is they made a small 8-inch long one.
Yeah.
And they got essentially a slingshot.
Oh god.
You can see where this is going. And they fired the burial shroud. And it flew along the length of the trench. And then they slowed it down. And it looks like it's floating majestically through space. Nice. But actually they fired John Hurt's tiny corpse.
Wow. I bet that really hurt.
Oh, I see what you did there. Anyway, also, when they're taking off and landing, the ship really, vibrates, shakes around.
Yeah.
Apparently they just got people who were on the set to hide behind the chairs and just wobble the actors.
Best job.
That's... What did you do today? Well, I wiggled Sigourney Weaver.
I shook a chair about.
Sigourney Weaver's real name is Susan. There you go, that's a completely random fact.
That just came completely out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did. That's how it works, Will. Sometimes facts just come to me and I have to shout them at you. So, okay, Ridley Scott took a lot of inspiration from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
As every sensible director does, John.
Yeah, it's a fantastic film, Will. You really should watch it.
Wow.
I'm sorry. I couldn't resist. For the record, William Wilson is an enormous fan of 2001: A Space Odyssey. I've never seen it. I've not aggressively not watched it. I just haven't got round to it yet. But one day will sit me down and handcuff me to a chair and make me watch it.
Yep.
But he really liked the vision of the future in 2001. But he thought that it all looked too perfect. Everything's so clean. It's so, almost that word that I can't think of.
Clean.
No, the word, Will. What's the word?
Clean.
It's all too sterile. Just like no one really lives there. So he took inspiration from things like submarines and B-52 bombers, where people are living, but also there's all the technology around them that kind of keeps them alive. He also drew inspiration from Star Wars. And I think you can see that a lot on the outside of the ship.
Yeah, oh, definitely. And I think especially in the trench for the underside of the Nostromo. I mean,
Yeah.
One of the, I don't know if it was a producer or something. I think one of the model builders actually remarked that really that was very much based off of the trench from Star Wars.
Yeah.
The whole aesthetic and things. So, towards the beginning when the Nostromo detaches from the refinery bit.
Yes.
There's kind of that arm that extends and drops the Nostromo out.
Yeah.
I have a couple of fun facts about that.
I'm excited.
There were like little, I guess, kind of ridges on that arm.
Yeah.
For which they used like model railway lines.
Really?
And so they just went to a local model railway store and just bought like hundreds of these. And I had to explain to the guy, we're doing it to make a film. That's what we're doing.
Well, I heard that, the model building thing.
Yeah.
Because when the alien runs away from the chestburster scene, they put the model on a little Hornby track. So he must have had some left over.
Yeah, some left over, yeah. Another thing with that was apparently one of the models of the Nostromo they built, I don't remember exactly how big it was. They had some like really large model of it.
Yeah.
It was large enough that they had to move it around with a forklift. So apparently when they do the scene where the Nostromo detaches from the refinery, they just put the Nostromo model on the forklift. And so the arm that the Nostromo detaches from was actually built so that it could extend and retract and things like that. So what they did was they just put the Nostromo on a forklift and just drove away from the refinery.
Oh, that's great. I love how I always assume that things in films are really complicated. And often it's something incredibly
They're always
simple.
really simple.
Yeah. I think we've covered most of it.
We did it, Joe. We need a pressing about section at the end, and also we need to do a review of the effects and of the movie in general.
Cool. All right, so let's go with this. What do you think the best effect? Yeah, the best effect. What do you think that was in Alien?
I quite like the egg chamber scene.
Yeah?
I very much like actually the smoke effect. I like that a lot for some reason. I don't really know why. I just really like that effect.
It does look really good.
Yeah.
Oh,
also because the Who were involved, as I mentioned. And I like their music, so...
Fair enough.
That's helpful.
You like the providers of the lasers in the scene.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to choose... Oh, it's a tough one. Why did I ask this question without thinking about the answer first? I think I'm going to have to go with the chestburster scene.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Because it's fantastic. And every time I watch it, just a little bit of me goes, "Wah!"
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Because, yeah, you kind of get used to seeing the facehugger. You get used to...
I still kind of feel a bit kind of suspenseful as it's approaching.
Yeah.
It's also, actually, I think that scene maybe gets slightly better if you know it's coming.
It's the way it goes from, they're all just having, like, a dinner, and everyone has had dinners, and, like, where you're chatting across the table, you're reminiscing about things, and then all of a sudden, something starts to be wrong, and then it escalates, and it escalates, and then suddenly, bam, there it is.
Bam, there's an alien on the table. I've been there, Joe. I've had that family dinner.
You're ruining our lovely meal.
You ruined everything. Not again. This happened last year.
We've got to stop inviting John Hurt. Get the tiny catapult. So then what do you think is the worst effect? Or the one that hasn't held up as well?
Okay, so it's the scene where Ash gets killed, but a very particular part of that.
Go on.
So the bit after his head has been knocked off?
Yes.
And he's flailing in a boot. The way they did that, as you probably know, is there's a guy in a costume, with the arms and the legs, and then there's like a false head at the top. Yeah. So that bit in particular, where there's sort of Ash with his head flopped off, and he's sort of flailing around.
Yes.
Is kind of comical, really.
It is. For me, it's the same scene, but it's the bit where they're twiddling about with Ash's head, and it's really obviously a dummy, as we've discussed.
Yeah.
And then suddenly it's Ian Holm.
Yes, I know exactly the transition you mean. I know exactly the transition.
They don't cut like to Ripley or to Parker and then back to the head. It's it goes from the model head to Ian Holm's head. Yeah, I forgot to mention that the innards, Ash's innards, were made of
caviar,
milk, pasta, onion rings, glass marbles, and some like fiber optics.
Oh, that sounds delicious, actually.
Get your healthy dose of fiber optics for the day.
Yeah.
Also, he drinks like a milk-like fluid at a few different points in the movie.
The actor who played Ash apparently really hated milk. And so in the scene when he's talking at the end and he's like coughing up milk and things,
Yeah.
they were just like feeding him these cups of milk occasionally, and he just really hates milk.
It's every line they put some more milk in his mouth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that when he spoke, he could kind of burble it out.
Yeah.
So how do you want to rate the movie? I am
What do
not a
you mean?
huge fan of like 0 to 10 ratings.
Fair enough.
We do it like a terrible internet survey. Were you very disappointed? Quite disappointed? Average? Satisfied? Or very
somewhat
satisfied?
pleased. Somewhat pleased. Somewhat disappointed.
Would you watch this every month? 1 to 2 times a week? Every day?
Every day.
That might be a good system. How many days consecutively do you think you could watch Alien? Before you were like, no more.
That's a good system, actually.
I don't mean like 24 hours a day, you're just harassed. I mean, at 6 o'clock every day, no matter what you're doing, you're forced to watch the movie Alien.
I reckon I could go for a while with Alien. Actually, it is quite a long film, though, isn't it?
It's not that long. Not a lot happens. It's not a slow film. It builds really well. But until like about half an hour, that you don't see anything. The chest burst scene isn't until like 53 minutes in. So the alien from Alien, he takes his time showing up.
Yeah.
I'd only seen it once before we'd done this. I'd forgotten how very good it was. It exceeded my expectations watching it.
I think I agree, yeah, when I watched it again.
And even watching it a second time in a week, even with the director, I still found myself going, shut up, Ridley Scott, I'm trying to watch. I could definitely watch this for a week at least.
Yeah.
Every day for a week. Oh,
I was going to say 2 weeks.
Really?
That was my first thought.
Oh, I don't know whether this is a really good system or a really bad system.
I think it's a very difficult system.
It certainly is. But it's films are so hard to compare because this is exceptional in ways that Jurassic Park is not going to be.
Yeah.
This excels in things like set design, costume design. It's amazing, the alien costume. And if I just give it an 8, that's not going to compare to Jurassic Park, where they have incredible animatronic dinosaurs and some early CGI that still looks pretty damn good today.
Yeah.
Which Alien doesn't have. So it's really hard to rate a thing.
How about, instead of giving it a particular number, we just put it on a leaderboard above or below other films that are on there?
Alright, how's this for a thing? We sum up by saying what it excels at, and then we'll slap it on a leaderboard.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea.
And also the fact is, it's going to be down to personal opinion on our leaderboard.
Yeah.
Do you want a separate leaderboard?
Yeah, okay, we'll have 2 leaderboards.
Alright, well, we'll edit all of this out.
All of that out, yeah. Oh,
and the noise of you knocking things.
My master's thesis just fell on the floor, don't worry.
Whoops!
Just my life's work, Joe.
Oh, I was worried it was your notes on Alien, Will. I'm glad it was nothing important. What do you think the strengths are of the movie generally? Not necessarily just the effects. I mean, the effects are definitely a strength. What else would you say is a strength
Of course,
this movie?
yeah. I think I mentioned this when I did my very monotonous summary at the beginning. I talked about that it's not really a horror film in the kind of conventional sense of just blood and guts and things. In that it's very suspenseful. It builds very well.
It does build very well.
It builds atmosphere very well, and I think the characters are remarkable in kind of how normal they are, I think.
Yeah.
And how just sort of genuinely human they are.
Even though they're on a space station, it still seems to be just like the day-to-day for them.
Yeah, exactly.
You really get the impression that this is like a group of people who work together. They're not like a really close-knit family.
And I think the bits where they're complaining about like their wages and things.
Yes, yeah.
I think that was a very nice touch and things like that.
Yeah, that really, you can really relate to them.
Yeah.
Because the government doesn't pay me enough, Will.
You haven't eliminated enough targets yet, Joe.
Well, I'm down on my quota for this month.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. What else does it excel at? It excels at the suspense, as you mentioned. The set design is incredible. I think a lot of that was Giga as well. Like the alien ship was definitely Giga.
Oh yeah, of course.
But the Nostromo as well looks like a really grimy industrial place. The creature designs as well. facehuggers, the eggs. Eggs aren't creatures, but shut up, Joe. And obviously the alien itself with its sprinkling of animal and bones and intestines and condoms.
Yeah.
Anything else that springs to mind?
I guess the face hugger springs to mind.
Oh, very good. Oh, very good.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, I didn't see that. Some people mentioned that having a cat on a spaceship, it didn't work for them. Why would they let you have a cat on a spaceship?
I think it all comes back to what we were talking about earlier with this whole just kind of everyday life aesthetic that they're going for. I think it actually adds to that quite a lot.
It does, and it adds to the character of Ripley, definitely, because she goes back into
especially since, she seems really genuinely concerned for the welfare of Jones to the point where she really risks her own life.
Yeah.
Anyway, sidetracked again.
We did. We got sidetracked by a cat.
Yeah.
Much like Brett did.
Yeah.
And it killed him. So let's never do that again.
Let's never do that. So yeah, I don't think having a cat on board is particularly unbelievable.
Yeah, for some people they were like, well, all these people right at the beginning, the first thing you see is them coming out of their hibernation pods. It seems quite sterile, and then suddenly, boom, a cat.
I don't see anything wrong with that, really.
No, I don't either, but it's just something people pointed out.
Mm. Oh, I have something to put into our things that are bad about Alien.
Oh, go
on. Jennifer Lawrence isn't in it.
This is a major flaw in many movies before Jennifer Lawrence started acting.
Before she was born as well.
Who would she play?
Ripley, obviously.
True, but Ripley, she's a really good character, but she's a bit of a jerk to everyone.
That is true, actually, but...
The alternative is Lambert.
Oh, no.
Who we literally didn't talk about. That's how great the character of Lambert is.
Yeah,
or she could be the alien.
I didn't want to suggest that, although it did pop into my head.
I see no problems with that, Will. Alright, we recast Jennifer Lawrence as the alien.
I don't think she's tall enough.
She doesn't have to be in the suit, Will. She just walks around brutally murdering people. The best bit would be when a tiny Jennifer Lawrence bursts out of John Hurt's chest.
Amazing.
Yep.
We've done great things today, Joe.
I think we did well. I think we should explain the fact that you have an infatuation with Jennifer Lawrence. What should we call it? Should we call it an unhealthy obsession?
An unhealthy obsession.
A lifelong admiration for the body of work of Jennifer Lawrence.
Both of those are fine. Unhealthy obsession is perhaps more accurate, but
I was trying to be nice. Will appreciates the work of Jennifer Lawrence to the point where he considers recasting her in every film as every character.
As every character.
Yeah. I think she would have made a good Parker. Yeah, so at the end of each episode, we thought it might be entertaining to rank each movie on a leaderboard just against other films that we've done.
If anyone's watched Top Gear, it's basically that.
It's pretty much
the lap
that.
Times.
But instead of it being based on a number that is easily calculable, it's going to be us umming and ahhing about where to put it.
Yeah.
By episode 3, we'll be like, I don't know anymore.
I don't know. Is it better than Alien or not?
So far we have done 0 films, because this is episode 1. We're just going to write the word alien on a board.
Yep.
Because there's nothing to compare it to at the moment.
I think it's going to go right at the top of my board, Joe.
I think it's going to go slap bang in the middle of mine.
It's also at the bottom.
Curses. Well, Alien is the best film on my leaderboard.
Currently the best film and the worst film on my leaderboard.
Yep, I think there's only so far we can stretch these jokes.
On Top Gear, you'd have Jeremy Clarkson going, "So where do you think you've come?" I don't know why he's suddenly Scottish.
We can't ask the movie Alien where it thunk it came.
Just email Ridley Scott. So where do you think you've come? And just do no explanation.
Perfect. All right, so yeah, that's that bit of nonsense done.
That's that.
Are we gonna wrap it up?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to say?
No.
All right, so we hope you've enjoyed this first episode of Practically Effective.
So we're at Practically FX and
Twitter.
also Practically Effective on the Facebook as well.
Yes, and we have an email address.
I mean, if you really do feel the need to email us, it's on our Facebook page.
But you can message on Facebook. You can message on Twitter, probably. I don't know if you can, actually. Do you want to dish out the email?
I think it's practically.effective@gmail.com.
I will read it for the front of my pink book. It is not that. Don't spread false lies, you fiend.
Alternative facts.
It's you're the post-truth of our email address. It's practicallyeffective, all one word, @gmail.com. So if you have literally anything you want to say about the movie Alien or any other of the movies, have at that. I
Nice.
feel like when we have a base of people who actually listen to this podcast, it would be nice to do a section. Like, I just like to hear what other people think about stuff. Yeah, I think we need to get a bit better at this, though.
Yeah.
We need to sharpen up a bit.
Are we going to do like a proper outro just to wrap it up?
Just say what we're doing next week, and we didn't shout spoilers at the beginning. Spoilers for Alien. If you've got this far, I apologize. But I mean, seriously, how could we make this podcast without spoiling it?
Thank you for listening to the very first episode of Practically Effective, which I guess also makes it the very best episode.
It's the only episode
that we've ever made.
On our leaderboard of episodes of Practically Effective.
Episodes, this is right at the top. Next time we're going to do...
I love that movie.
Next time we're going to look at Jurassic Park, so hopefully you'll listen in then. So, goodbye.
Goodbye. Follow us on all the twittings and facings and everyone.
Nice, good job, Joe. Fortunately, we can cut out your tomfoolery.
You could just edit everything I said out.
It's just me laughing occasionally. That's the entire podcast.
That would be I'd listen to half an hour of you just giggling to yourself and
Nice.
then telling me a fact about Alien. I'm actually going to stop the recording. Give me a sec.
Good.